Good morning and welcome to Galactic Soul Healing. I did a meditation last night. I have been inspired to do this. So it's messages from the Andromedan collective. So they're actually wanting me to do this spread with this in the center. Don't know if you can see that, so I'm just going to read out this one here. So the center is the higher self or the soul self, and they've directed me to say that people need to start making that their main focus as much as possible. And the reason that these other things are around here is that they're the things that contribute to your development of this, of recognition of this within yourself. Okay, we're going to do some cards as well with it. So I'm going to use these 3 decks here. So we're going to use the Keepers of the Light Oracle deck. You can see that, yeah. Doreen Virtue, Words of Jesus, Loving Words from Jesus, and the Starseed Oracle, Rebecca Campbell. Okay, this one's by Kyle Gray, and yeah, Doreen Virtue. So we're going to be using those decks today to create these 5 stacks. Okay, let me just go through each one. So the order we're going to be placing them is the higher self I'm going to place first in the center, and then we're going to look at this one here, which is number 2. Is you could probably zoom in to see it anyway. Now it's childhood and past lives. Okay, the positive and negative experiences and effects of both of those things. So obviously your soul has a bit of an essence, right? There's an essence to your soul, and often what we put up our hands for when we come down onto earth is to learn lessons and to learn things. And so, you know, we've more than likely had past lives on earth other than this one that we're in now. And so that all of those past lives that you've had, you've actually acquired knowledge and skills and understandings and learnt things in those lives. Okay, and that all feeds into your soul, because as you go through all of the lives, you accumulate all of the knowledge that you need. Okay, and the thing about childhood is that's particularly pertaining to this life that you're in now. So your childhood, so you know, you could go way back, early childhood, mid-childhood, teens, or whatever, and it's really looking at those aspects of those experiences that you've had that may have even, you know, still have some effect on your beliefs, values, and attitudes about things, and even your own psychology, your own you know, perhaps, you know, like fears and phobias, or even unconscious patterns of survival, unconscious ways of relating, and things like that. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is we're going to look at the divine masculine and divine feminine, and it's now there's Carl Jung's theory is that if you are a man, for instance, that you have held within your subconscious a feminine aspect, okay, and that if you are a woman, you have within your subconscious a masculine aspect. That his theory is that usually when people hit around midlife, these other the opposite force of what they are starts to come through. So if you're a man, you start having to, things happen in your life where you kind of, not forced, but you're gently kind of pushed in that direction of addressing, perhaps looking at things from a more feminine perspective in terms of being a bit more receptive and a bit more responsive rather than the action-based. Okay, and women can have a very similar thing, but the opposite, where they get to midlife and it's a little bit like, they've kind of been in receptive caregiving mode, a lot of the time, and all of a sudden seems to be a driving force that comes through that, hey, they really want to do something in the world. Okay, so sometimes the women's focus shifts from family to a bigger focus as well, even though I'm not downplaying the value of family. Okay, not saying that at all. But it can just be, that, and there's all different theories around that. But as we know, there's been the divine masculine and divine feminine aspects within ourselves. As we come into more balance, we raise our frequency, that really helps us to move forward in our spiritual and our soul understanding of what our higher self is kind of comprised of, right? It's a lot of really great stuff that comes from activating feminine and masculine within yourself. But you probably need to research that rather than just taking it on the one word, because if you go, well, okay, if I'm a woman, I need to be more masculine. Does that mean I need to be more macho and more like, like aggressive or all that? No, it's not that. Okay. You just research it. And so number 4 is the mind-body connection, self-care and development. So that's about your specific mind-body connection, your care of your mind and your body, and the development of that. So that's in terms of, say, if you're doing meditation, okay, that's an example of someone who's developing mindfulness. Or with your body, say you might be developing an improved inner health, okay, or improved healthier lifestyle, that type of thing. So there's that there. And then the number 5, we've got the roles, skills, experiences, knowledge and relationships that you've had throughout your life, this life. Okay, because often a lot of the skills and things that you've acquired, that knowledge that you have, is sort of transferable. There's transferable skills that you can use in your soul purpose and your soul to activate your soul self, higher self. Okay, so this, I'm getting a feeling now that this is almost a spread about things and ideas that you can start tapping into and thinking about in terms of developing your soul purpose, if that's something that you want to kind of move into a spiritual way of being, but also being practical and basically integrating it into your life, okay, which can be really awesome. But of course, first you've got to have some concept of what your higher self is, and how to kind of perhaps access it and things like that. So without any further ado, let's look at the cards. So as I place these out, yeah, I think the reason that they're wanting me to use the cards is because it's one thing to talk about things like this and to have them in words, okay, for our little brains to compute, right? We can kind of accept things intellectually. But to have them in a visual, symbolic form actually speaks more to the subconscious, because as we know, the subconscious that comes forward in dreams, the dreams are almost the evidence of our subconscious, right? Well, they are. And it operates in pictorial language. So we're kind of doing a bit of a visual marketing. It's not a trick, but it's a thing that people use for visual marketing, is that you use a visual to help ingrain a belief, an attitude, a value, or a behavior. And in this case, it's a conceptual linking. So it's a conceptual, your subconscious will be a little bit more on board with your conceptual idea of how this is going to come through for you in your life in a conscious way, if we use images. Okay, so this is why we're using the image. This is what they've said to me, that it's valid to use these images for that reason, because it's not just our conscious minds that need to come on board with this, it's our subconscious. And it's interesting here that we have two things at the top here that are talking about our subconscious that we need to sort of look at if we're going to develop this, okay, a bit, but also taking into account, of course, our own self-care, mind-body connection, and our role skills, knowledge, and all that wonderful stuff we've learned throughout our life, okay, that we can use. So let us shuffle. I'll just pop this down, and I'm just going to grab a quick drink. Right. Okay, so this is the Keepers of Light. So we're going to do a quick shuffle. Yeah, just asking the Andromedan collectives and any other collectives that are working with the Andromedans currently that would like to assist us in the giving and receiving of the information that is going to be coming through for our highest good and for the highest good of all. Okay, so these are complete decks here. Yeah, we'll just really be grateful for any guidance and any the images that are going to help us with taking this information on board. Would be great. And you can do similar spreads like this at home if you have decks that you like to use. I kind of meditated on my decks, and I've got a little collection, but these ones kind of sort of directed to these. Okay. Right, let's okay, if I pop the decks here, go up with Starseed Oracle first. Okay, so we're going center. Actually, I'm going to put those there, excuse me. And then we're going, this is the childhood past lives. We're going Anima Animus, which is Carl Jung's terms for the feminine aspect and the masculine aspect. So the feminine is the anima, and the animus is the masculine. Okay, that looks organised. Right. So we have 1, 2, right, I could have done these beforehand, but I just prefer to do this in view, because otherwise it just looks like I've put the cards there and I've pre-scripted what I'm going to say and everything, but this is not pre-scripted. Okay. Right, let's pick up the higher self first and we'll have a look at those. Okay. Okay. Right, so this is sort of pertaining to your higher self, soul self, and the activation of that for you. So this says here, you're not for everyone, embrace your weirdness, face your true north. So that it's also saying that when we start activating our higher selves, or our soul self, sometimes it takes us a little bit kind of into other realms and into slightly different things than what we used to be doing, and slightly different things to what other people are used to us doing. Okay, so that's kind of saying there, you know, everyone is unique. Okay, and everyone has a very unique, special pathway, special gift, and even the culmination of all of these things can manifest in a way that you might not even be aware of as yet. But if it strikes you as to what that's going to be, and it seems unusual, try to go with the flow. Just investigate, look into it, hold space for yourself. Okay, embrace your weirdness, face your true north. So it's really saying be true to yourself, be true to your higher self, because this is the center card. Okay, that's awesome. That's really supportive. And look at that. That's like an angelic type of being, like, you know, that's like a planet there with, like, you know, a purpose. It's sort of like really embracing the amazingness of your own soul and your higher self. Okay, and that's awesome. That's really supportive. We could look at them in together, couldn't we? Let's just check this. Let's look at Jesus first. So he's saying, peace be unto you as my Father hath sent me. Okay, so when we see Father there and written in that term, he's just alluding to the fact that he used the word Father in order to communicate to people about a source, a loving source that has an energy, a very father-like, paternal, protective, loving, unconditionally loving energy. Okay, so it's sort of like, if we could substitute the word source in there. Okay, unconditional, divine love, like unconditional love, right? So it's really saying, have peace, because he here acknowledges that he's come from divine love light, unconditional love light. So he's saying that, have peace, I know that I'm an angelic being and you are as well. Really just gain strength from that and have peace in your heart about that fact, that you are connected to source, because that's sort of what he's saying. And this is directly also the higher self, is that part of us that is more connected to source than, say, for instance, the role, skills and experiences and things that we've been busy doing. Okay, obviously if we're activating part of our higher self in those roles, then we've kind of have a sense of that connection, okay, which is really beautiful. But if we've been in those sort of jobs that we haven't been able to kind of activate our higher self, or we kind of don't feel that we have, then don't worry, because it's always there. Your higher self is with you all the time. Okay, and he's just saying there, peace be unto you as my Father has sent me. He's also saying that, don't worry, because I'm here with a message of love. And that's the other thing about higher self, is basically, the more you can operate from your higher self and step into it, the more loving and caring you will feel, and the more loving and caring you can be with others. And yeah, it's a very high frequency. The highest frequency is one of love, okay? And this is what Jesus is saying here as well, because he's essentially a very loving being, wasn't he? Yeah. So he's just saying, be reassured that all is well with your higher self, because you are always connected, okay? Despite, even if it might seem unusual, okay, at the time. Now, this sounds a little interesting here, is Shiva. Lord Shiva, it says transcendence. As we know, Shiva is a Hindu god, usually kind of associated with the destruction and breakdown, okay, the destroyer sort of thing. But they put transcendence in here, which is really awesome, because this is what higher self, it ultimately moves you into a higher frequency way of being, which is transcendent, transcends you up out of the third dimensional and low vibrational states. Okay, let's just read this little bit down here. Rise up, honor your inner force. Steps are being given. Dance with the universe. Rise up. This is it. Sometimes I get chills, folks, and this is just a chill moment. It's literally saying rise up, okay? And this is what the Andromedans are really wanting me to say, is that we do need to rise up now and step up into this, even if you can only acknowledge it partially or a little bit, that you have a higher self, okay? That you have a spiritual aspect that has always been there. So if you're doubting that, there's no reason to doubt. Although obviously circumstances can force you into that way of thinking, but be reassured, okay, that even if it seems strange to you, that, things are happening here. Honor your inner force. Now the inner force is the soul self. That is the inner light, okay, the inner part of the energy body, the chakras, honor your whole being and the inner light, okay, that's the main thing, which is the higher self, the soul. Dance with the universe. Look at this picture here. That literally looks like she's dancing there, doesn't it? That literally looks like there's a bit of it, like that particular figure there has arms out, and it looks like there's, it could well be spinning. So it's just a beautiful thing that one of the beautiful effects of when we open up into our higher self, we can feel like that things are starting to move with us. Okay, that things are kind of on our side. Okay, so it's actually it's moving through from I guess it's from a victim mindset into a creator mindset. Okay, that doesn't necessarily happen overnight. Okay, it takes time, and this is what the Andromedans have sort of said to me. If I put this in the center and it's these things that are impacting, it takes a little while to kind of work through some of that and come to some understanding. Okay, and everyone's at a different place on this spectrum of their connection with their own higher self. Okay, then it's really exciting and awesome. And that's just so lovely. Transcendence. Be reassured, and it might seem a little bit strange, or it might be, it might seem, like you feel like the odd one out, because all of a sudden you're going, look, I'm going to do my higher self stuff. But you know what? No one can do that for you. Okay? If you want to do it, you're the one to do it. Okay? But gently, self-care and stuff like that. This is why we're going to be doing these other beautiful supportive things that we're going to look into. Okay, now, so there's going to be probably a lot of information coming through with this reading. I'd recommend, if you want to take down a few notes, do so, and try not to address it all at once. Okay, if you feel like yeah, I want to look into that, I want to do it. Just kind of choose something to start with. Okay, choose one of the stacks to start with, or I guess the thing that jumps out to you the most is like, oh yeah, I really need to look at that, or I'm really interested to look into that. Do that first. Okay. Yep. Now we're going to look at the childhood one here. I'll just grab another drink. Okay, so this one at the back here, which is corresponding to this one here. Okay, your top left is here. Okay. This is childhood, past lives, positive and negative experiences and effects. Okay. Okay, we have trust the timing. Trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. Isn't it? That is a direct reference to what we mentioned before was past lives. Like we come down and we have lives, so there's like time has gone by. Okay, and it's saying trust that timing, that time that when you came down onto earth was meant to be, and trust also that the life that you were born into here currently is actually the right one for you. It's saying trust that. Okay. Trust the wave you came in on. Time is not running out. So I think the other thing they're trying to allude to me to here is that really in higher frequencies, time does not have that basically time is not as relevant, and it also doesn't have that panic feel about it that we have in 3D. Okay, because as you know, it's sort of like in 3D, it always feels like there's never enough time in the day. Okay, but as you move up in frequency, it all just becomes flow, and it all just unfolds as it's supposed to, in the timing that it's supposed to have. Of course, you've kind of got to have some input into navigating that. Okay, but it's sort of saying that part of the high frequency is about changing our concept of time a little bit. Well, it will change as a result of upping in frequency. Let's look at what Jesus is to say. Pray always. Isn't that beautiful? You know what that's alluding to? It's alluding to, even if you had negative experiences, you can actually receive comfort through prayer and through spiritual practice, and also looking into your own heart space. Because if you don't feel like you've had the love in your life that you've needed growing up, even as a child or a teenager, you can put some work in and get that happening for yourself. Okay, and praying and asking, opening up to spirit guidance and assistance. Jesus is certainly someone you can can help you to assist you with that. But also, people, collectives like the Andromedan collectives, Arcturians collectives, they can help with healing as well. Blue Avians, Assyrians can help with kind of, particularly these, the deep-rooted childhood and past life stuff. If there's been traumas and things like that, some of the Syrian beings are really kind of help with grounding and helping you to have the courage to go in there and sort out what that was, and how to get the bottom of it, how to clear it out of your system. Okay, because even though you've had trauma, if you have, okay, you are not the trauma. Okay, the trauma is an energetic experience, And I'm not downplaying that there hasn't been effects of trauma, because everyone is affected by trauma if they've experienced it. But there is a level there where you can that you can reach, whereby you can release it from your field, from your consciousness, so that it doesn't have as much of an effect as it used to. I recommend, so this has all come from getting support to do the difficult stuff, which is, or sometimes it is challenging, working through childhood issues. Past life traumas sometimes come up as well, but they've also, there's been positive and negative effects of that. So the thing about the positive effects is to kind of meditate and activate gratitude. Okay. Now, something that you could research if you wanted to look at releasing trauma is Quanta Freedom Healing by Melanie Tonya Evans. She's an Australian woman. She has an online course, which I believe is sort of linked into the narcissistic abuse recovery program. Okay, so if you feel like you've been abused by a narcissist and you also have been a bit traumatized by that would be perfect. It's also quite good for people that have just perhaps had trauma as well. You might need to maybe research it and discuss it with your therapist, if you have a therapist. Okay, so the idea is that the past lives and the childhood form a lot of your deep experiences and your deep understandings, and there's a lot of benefit to them, the positive and the negative ones, because they really enrich the depth of your soul and your experience. And it's really honouring, when you've done some work on that, to actually look back and go, wow. The human, we don't realise sometimes how resilient and amazing we are. So we're actually on the childhood. So this one is like trusting the timing and praying. So don't forget that you can seek spiritual assistance. Okay, and this one is love and acceptance. Isn't that beautiful? That is almost about the trust here. It says trust. Okay, trust the timing, trust the wave you came in on, and it's really like also saying accept, the acceptance, but it's love and acceptance. So you accept that with love. Try, sometimes it's difficult to accept something if you really hate what happened and you don't really want to accept it. It's totally normal. In that case, it's a case of self-love. Try and keep loving yourself as much as you can, and then ultimately you will get to a point of acceptance. And grief is a typical example of that too, because grief has a whole lot of emotions involved in it, but denial is definitely one of them, but acceptance is the final stage of grief. When people move out of it, is that they can shift into love and acceptance. Okay, and that's really just having this beautiful honouring compassion for everything that's happened, for everyone that's involved. And let's read a little bit under here. And this also they've called this, she looks quite Buddhic, doesn't she? Like she's Buddhist, but it's hope. So, once again, even though there may have been some negative experiences, past lives or current life, the hope, have hope. So we have this beautiful ones here for looking at subconscious stuff. Is really hope, trust, and pray. Always sink into your spiritual aspect to get strength to dealing with it. Let's read a little bit now under here. Love is yours. Recognize your divine worth. Choose loving thoughts. That's really beautiful. Recognize your divine worth. Okay, that's really supportive for someone who's had, like a difficult childhood or has had lots of traumas and grief in their life. okay? Even though you might feel not happy and not loving and just really upset, okay? Just know that there are, beings like, Jesus, Ascended Master, and, like this woman, any other, archangels as well, looking over you, watching over you, and and they are actually recognizing your divine worth. Okay. And choose loving thoughts. I get that sometimes it's not always easy to choose how you're going to think. The first step towards that is being aware of what thoughts you are having. Like maybe just, spontaneously during the day, just sort of write down like, oh, okay, right now I'm thinking such and such. And do that for a few weeks, and then just see what kind of thought patterns you're in. A lot of people do sabotage themselves. Okay, and it's a real challenge to actually sometimes have loving thoughts towards oneself, towards yourself. It's totally normal, but it's part of sort of one of the lessons that we learn when we start activating higher self, is that acceptance is almost like no matter what we've been through, we have to cultivate this a thing whereby we love ourselves unconditionally. So no matter what we've been through, no matter what trauma we've had, no matter what experience we've been through, current life or past life or whatever, we still love ourselves unconditionally. Even though sometimes when you confront your trauma to kind of work through it, you can actually feel really yucky and really horrible, like, oh, I feel really icky. Alright, just sit with that, move through it. Afterwards, just go, look, okay, I feel icky then, but you know what, I love myself anyway. I actually love myself for having the courage to actually go in there and look at that, to confront that trauma, whatever that was. Okay. So these are kind of see, acceptance, that's quite a deep thing. There's a lot of things that probably go on that we don't want to accept, that we're actually not accepting in our lives. But it's saying raising the vibration with love will help you to move into acceptance. Now, that's not to say it's complacency. That's not what it's saying. It's saying that if you can't move into acceptance, for instance, if you harbour resentments and you harbour grief and you harbour low vibrational states, okay, and you don't accept and move forward, you will not be able to move up into higher vibrations. So it's really saying you kind of got to work hard on really pulling out the positives, like what the positives were for the situation, so that you can, and even how you can kind of, I guess, integrate what you've learnt from the experience, which helps with acceptance. Okay, and compassion is also really valuable there. We can always put love, compassion and acceptance, couldn't we? That has implications for oneself, but also relationships, lots of other things. Okay. So that's trust, pray and hope. Okay, so this is if you're doing the subconscious work and stuff's coming up. Pretty good little words to jot down. Now let's look at actually I'm going to put my heater on, it's a bit cold. Excuse me. Don't know how that happened. A minute ago it was boiling hot. Now, just a quick sip. Okay, so now we have the the next sort of subconscious thing that feeds into. So really these things here, they feed into your higher self because they help you to understand the depths of your soul, these cards we just looked at. Okay, the depths of your wisdom, your real inner knowing, and also your intuition, because sometimes you need to use intuition to activate and understand past lives and past experiences. So it's sort of doing guided meditations and things like that. Okay, yeah, that can be really helpful. So here we go, subconscious. So this is talking about the anima and animus forces that we have, divine masculine and feminine. This one, oh my god, double mission. Light worker starseed, serve the world by being you. So the double mission is referring to being on earth as a higher self-activated being, but then also operating in 3D. I think that's what the double mission is. But I'm also going to put in there this double mission. I think Spirit's quite clever in putting this in here, because you see how this is masculine and feminine. It's almost a double mission there, isn't it? Because basically, if you're a woman, okay, you have kind of a mission to have to do your feminine, right? But you also have a masculine aspect. So that's going to add another dimension to your mission, isn't it? So it's almost has, double the impact. And the same as if you were a man. Okay, you have the masculine thing going on, but once you start activating your divine feminine aspect, you have a lot more, you probably have a lot more impact on the on creating that. For men and women, they have a lot more ability to work for the highest good of all. Okay, and light worker starseed, serve the world by being you. And I think in a previous reading we mentioned too that once you have your opposite aspect activated, it becomes very empowering. You become a more powerful light being, which is light worker. Okay, light worker starseed. You become fully aware of your origins and your connection and the assistance that you have from Spirit. Okay, that we're actually part of a galactic family now. Right, and serve the world by being you. So it's really just, and you'll find the way to do that. But that's definitely alluding. And the other beautiful thing there is that there's almost pinky and bluey hues. Now, as you know, on 3D, we kind of traditionally, if it's a baby girl, you buy the pink stuff. If it's a baby boy, you buy the blue stuff. So this is actually alluding to feminine and masculine up here, even though I don't kind of ascribe to that idea, but it's kind of alluding to feminine and masculine energies. And it's really beautiful. And we've actually got white lights in there as well. Okay. And the interesting thing is that this face here, the eyes are closed, so it's very meditative. And it's going, that being is probably meditating inward. And this is what it's saying here, is that the anima and the animus, those aspects of us can be certainly subconscious as well, but we can meditate on them and access them. Okay, let's see what Jesus has to say. That's a beautiful picture of him with a little boy. Blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it. So blessed are they who are essentially in touch with their own spiritual aspect or their own higher self, and acting in accordance with the alignment that they have with Source. because the word of God is literally the alignment with unconditional love-like consciousness. So if that's your, as a higher self, that's usually the higher self wants that, because that's what it's aligned with. Okay, the higher self, you are automatically aligned with that. Okay, it's just a matter of getting the conscious mind and the personality and the body on board with it. Okay, and it's basically saying that that's a blessing. So, you will be blessed. And that certainly resonates, because it's to do with going up into a high frequency. Okay, and then you receive the blessings of the high frequency, which is unconditional love-like consciousness. Now, in terms of masculine and feminine, the interesting thing here is that it's almost like we have an adult male here and this little boy. So it's almost like, even though the hair colour is different, but you can almost say, okay, so childhood. So say it's like alluding to childhood there. And often with feminine and masculine, the I, what am I trying to say? So in this case, we're talking about a male, like a masculine. So, for instance, for this little boy growing up here, his idea of the types of things that men do, right, come from his father mostly. Okay, so it's just a little. I think they're just alluding to parents here, to just be aware that that you're not passing on to your children distorted and dysfunctional ideas about what it means to be a boy and what it means to be a girl. Okay, for instance, if you tell if your little boy is, cries, and you say, boys don't cry, that is probably not going to be healthy for the child. Okay, that's a very old, that's probably on the way out now in terms of what parents are doing. I think most parents would, if a child cries, they're not going to say don't cry. Okay, it's really a case of giving physical comfort until the child stops crying. It's not telling them don't do that. In other words, don't feel, don't express yourself. That's not what we want. That's not loving. Okay, and yeah, so it's just saying to be aware, and this applies, of course, to to little girls as well, of course. Yeah, but you can work that out. It's probably books on it as well. It's really just helping the child to become more whole-souled, not to kind of take on distorted and dysfunctional things about what it means to be a man. Okay. Yeah, because the thing is, we can have a subconscious, that's the other thing it's sort of saying, is that there are different eras of civilization on Earth where, for men, the feminine aspect has been very repressed, and in women, the masculine aspect has been very repressed. But over time, as history has moved forward, it's become less and less subconscious, if you will. It's become a little bit more mainstream, a bit more accepted that men and women are that people can actually activate both of their aspects and be comfortable with it. Okay, and it's sort of saying, also alluding to the fact that this time, the other thing is Jesus here is actually a really lovely example of someone who has divine masculine and divine feminine aspects beautifully in balance. So it's also alluding to the fact that there are more people now that have this imbalance naturally, even as children. Okay, so it's saying that it's a movement anyway. That it's going to be. This is why I've got slash. It's subconscious slash conscious, because we can consciously be just activating all those beautiful qualities of masculine and feminine without saying, oh, I'm doing the man stuff now and I'm doing the lady stuff. It's not that. It's like I'm just being my whole soul, okay, without having these rigid kind of rules about, oh, guys don't do that and women don't do that, right? So it's just about being more whole-souled, and obviously that taps into higher self, doesn't it? Because the more whole-souled you are, the more of your higher self can come through, and the more access you have to your higher self. Let's look at the last one. Anima Animus. Oh, wow. So Radha, this looks like a Hindu goddess figure. Soul flame. Rediscover a lost part of yourself. Experience relationship harmony and healing. Sorry, folks, I've just got chills again. Do you know what this is about? The lost part of yourself. Okay, we're directly on the subconscious, possibly. You know, if you're a man, you have a subconscious feminine aspect, and if you're a woman, you have possibly a subconscious masculine aspect that may or may not be playing out in your life. Okay, but if it's not, and if you reckon it's not, then it's probably that it's a lost part of yourself, right? And it's saying experience relationship harmony and healing. So it's saying if you can start to activate or tap into, become more aware of that other aspect of yourself, that it's going to be healing, okay, and you experience more harmony as a result. And the relationship they're talking about is the relationship with yourself. So you will have, if you can activate that feminine or masculine aspect, whichever one you feel is the repressed one in yourself, you will experience more harmony within yourself, and you will feel better about yourself, and it will be healing. And not only for you, for other people around you. Okay, that's so awesome. Can you believe that that's soul flame? And it's literally soul. Like, it's talking about the higher self. I know, I'm aware that there's another interpretation of that, e.g., your partner, or a lost part of yourself, which is your twin flame or your soul flame or whatever. Experience relationship harmony and healing. Well, I guess it could be referring to that. You know, it could also be referring to the fact that as people become more and more in tune with their feminine and masculine aspects, that their relationships tend to become more fulfilling, and so they may be in a better position to actually find a really beautiful soul mate, soul flame. Okay, but that's not the overall goal or aim for it. The overall goal was what they're saying here, is to develop your higher self, is to really look at developing that inner relationship that you have with your divine masculine and divine feminine aspects. I really like how that's there. Look, and all these relate to masculine and feminine. I cannot believe this double mission. But that's really beautiful. And this is the second Hindu one we've had. We had Shiva as well, didn't we? Interesting. Wow, let's put that there. Okay, moving along. Let's go to mind-body connection and self-care. So that's this one here, this stack. Mind-body connection and self-care. Oh, yeah, there's some beautiful cards come up here today. Star Keeper. Isn't that beautiful? Cosmic Ancestor, seed the light by staying grounded. Wow. Yeah, what just comes to my mind then? So the mind is going to be connecting to source up here, right? And the staying grounded is referring to really activating that physical body to be grounded, because the more grounded you are, the higher frequency you can go. And it's not like it's a race or anything like that, but it's in terms of developing higher self. If you want to do meditation and things like that, it's really handy to be grounded, which means going outside, putting your feet on the earth, getting plenty of rest, getting plenty of good nutrition and hydration, doing things with your hands, maybe gardening, going for nature walks, even listening to types of music that have, for the root chakra, grounding, okay? Drumming journey music is really good for that, really nice and grounding. Yeah, that's good as well. So this is about mind, body, self-care, and the connection and development. So this is about the direct connection, is saying cosmic ancestor. So cosmos is kind of like higher frequency, isn't it? It's sort of like not of the earth so much, but it's sort of saying that we need to benefit from the earth energies, from the magnetic field, because it helps our generate and clear our own electromagnetic field. Okay. And it helps us to cope with the higher energies coming in, which is sort of what it's saying here. Cosmic ancestor. See the light by staying grounded. So we need to really start making use of the earth energies to really strengthen our field. And that's a direct mind, body, self-care practice. Okay. Jesus says about this, with another little child, isn't that beautiful? Nothing shall be impossible unto you. That is amazing. Nothing is impossible. So, particularly when you start tapping into your higher self and activating that, basically the sky's the limit is what Jesus is saying here. And even then, the sky's not the limit, okay? If you don't feel that your mind and body is connected, or you don't feel that you do enough self-care in any of those, with either of those things, don't worry, nothing's impossible. You can do it, you can achieve it. And think about development too. Like if you're in a situation where you feel like it's really hard for you to get any of this sort of stuff happening for yourself because you're under the pump, pray, ask for help. Just even take 10 or 15 minute kind of time slots where you do a bit of research, find out a few things, maybe just do a 10-minute meditation or something like that, and nothing's impossible. Like ultimately, and look at this, it's just beautiful, because that's actually a little blue butterfly there, and they're in a garden, which is another really beautiful thing for self-care and mind-body connection, because nature is very meditative. Plus it takes your physical form and your whole electromagnetic field that surrounds you out into nature where there is no electromagnetic disturbance. Okay, it's very clearing, very regenerative, very caring for yourself to do that. And you know what it also helps you to do? It also helps you to do development. Because you can go out there, clear your field, you acknowledge that, and you can sense that, something's really clear now, and then you can come back and do your other things. But sometimes you get little insights and ideas if you're out in nature. Okay, and you go, or you might even get downloads. You might even start meditating and communicating with spirit when you're in nature, which is just perfect, because that helps you with your development, doesn't it? And it also helps your mind-body connection, because you're walking, getting fresh air, oxygenating your system, right? We need to really start thinking about ourselves, not just in terms of little brains that can do 1,000,001 things, but in terms of energetic well-being, mind-body connection, breath, our whole energy field, our auras, all the rest of it. And that all feeds into developing your higher self, because as you start to go up in frequency, you become aware that your energy bodies are, your chakras are actually literally like little portals and into other sort of consciousnesses that you can kind of step into, and that's attached to your aura. And you also have a light body, okay, that really, when that sort of become activated, then you really start to feel more like that you have a handle on things in terms of, okay, I'm going to go into meditation now for a bit, and I'm going to do that, and then after that I'm going to be going to do some other stuff. Okay, because what happens is that you will then start to develop beyond mind-body connection, okay, because you start to develop a capacity to accept your higher self nature as an angelic being of light, even if you don't feel fully realized, like you don't have the wings yet and all that sort of stuff, right? But you start to see your soul as that, and then you know that it's up to you to give yourself that time and space to move into that. But then you also know that you need to move out and even to other 3D, 4D environments where you need to be. And that is to do with self-care, mind-body connection, and development. Okay, because essentially we need to master the mind-body connection, right, in order to really activate this more fully. And there's a whole spectrum, like if you might be 3D, 4D, I mean there's a whole spectrum of frequencies in 4th D, right, and a whole spectrum of frequencies in 5th D. So some people might be, mid 4th, some might be lower 5th, people are kind of at all different levels, but it's not the name of the game to kind of figure out which exact frequency you're in. It's really just overall moving through, and you'll become aware of when you're in a higher frequency or not, okay, especially with meditation. And mind-body meditations can be really good too, like yoga and things like that. Now, Archangel Michael, trusting heaven. You are safe, angels stand close, surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to occur. And look at that. See that colour? That is red. That is the colour, the base chakra. Base chakra, which is essentially that grounding chakra, which is a direct connection to this card here. Sorry, let's get chills. Direct connection here, because it's saying stay grounded, okay? Ground. And look here, Jesus is actually out in nature with this little boy here. Isn't that interesting? It's a little blue butterfly that has wings. Archangel Michael has wings too, of course. And he also has that's a sword there, the hilt or the handle of a sword with a blue jewel in the middle. Not quite sure what the jewel would be, but you are safe, angels stand close. So, and this is cosmic ancestor, seed the light by staying grounded. And nothing's impossible. All things are possible. So in terms of mind-body connection, self-care and development, it's really a case of tapping into assistance here as well. Also staying grounded. Okay, if you're doing meditation, or even if you're in overwhelming feeling states, ground yourself. Nature. Okay, yeah. Trusting heaven. That is really awesome. I'm just seeing if there's anything else I can pull out of that. This here, the body, there is a temple in the body. Can you see that? That is amazing. See that? That is a doorway. I literally just mentioned before about chakras being like portals, energetic portals, right? This is like literally the doorway of a temple that's going into your body, into a body that is a symbolic of this the mind-body connection, where we need to start treating our bodies as temples. And look at this, it's also spirit. And you see there's a light in here. This light, it's been lit up from here. So this is the other thing about light body. With energy body, it's like we are connected with light. We are literally light bodies. We are evolving, into being more and more like light, because that's what consciousness is. Consciousness behaves like light. And our bodies are becoming like that as well. So mind-body connection is kind of important, because if we stuff ourselves with, we don't drink any water, and we stuff ourselves with junk food, and we go and do meditation, and we think that we're going to be, ascending and accessing our higher self, well, we'll only get so far. Okay. However, having said that, if you do have nutritional and substance addictions, and sort of issues with health and stuff like that, gradually over time, just kind of develop some mindfulness about that. Okay. And if you find that you're doing subconscious stuff, like you're addicted, you're subconsciously just going to stuff as a thing, try and figure out what your trigger is. Okay, you might want to see a therapist, but you can probably do a lot of work on it yourself. Try and figure out what feeling it is that triggers you to go and do or eat whatever it is. And I know it's really hard, and I've had to do this in the past, and it's really hard. It's almost impossible. Like, I'm just giving in. That's it. But if you can sit with the feeling for a bit and just go, look, okay, I'm going to eat the chocolate biscuits in a minute, but I really just got to sit with this feeling right now to find out what the fuck it is and where it came from. Okay, and then you can just sit there and just go, look, I'm feeling, and when did I feel like this? When have I felt like this previously? And then try and go back into, obviously take some time out for yourself, go in your room, maybe make yourself something else, like a cup of tea. Just sit down and relax and go, okay, I really want to eat my packet of chocolate biscuits right now, but I'm just going to sit here with a cup of tea. I'm just going to do some writing, and then then I'll let myself go a biscuit. Because even if you write some stuff out, and part of you is going, this is crap, I don't want to do this, I'd just rather go eat my fucking biscuits. Right, even if you write some stuff out, okay, that is a step. Right, that is a step. And I'm talking about addictions. This could be a smoking addiction, food addiction, anything. Write some stuff out, and then really congratulate yourself for doing that. Try not to sabotage yourself and chuck it in the bin, because you want to maybe put that away somewhere and just go, look, I know I'm not going to be able to face all this right now. I just want to, okay, I'll get something out and then I'll look at it later. It could be helpful. Okay, so that was mind-body connection. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I really like that. Stay grounded. Nothing's impossible. And this one is, angels stand close. Don't be shy about asking for help from any galactic consciousness. And you can even Google galactic consciousnesses and try and find out which, there might be some that resonate with you. Okay. Role skills and experiences. Let's look at this one. So this is the experiences, knowledge, and relationships. Sorry, I'm just going to have a bit of water. So, sorry, briefly before we jump onto this one. So the mind-body connection feeds into your higher soul self, because you need to start bringing on board your whole body. Your body is the temple, okay? Now, let's look at role skills. This one is, so this is all of this life, all of your experiences and your skills that you've got, all of those great things that you've learned, and the knowledge, and also your relationships. I'm just going to move this a bit bit closer, sorry. That says, surrender to the sweetness. Venus energy, pleasure and joy, make love to life. Wasn't that awesome? That's actually kind of really beautiful, because it's just saying, you know what, just really honor and acknowledge all of the things that you've done, and pat yourself on the back, you know. Yeah, and this is alluding to Venus. So if you want to get into this, these feelings, that there's a Venus, a Venusian's a collective consciousness that you could ask for assistance with. If you just want to get into a bit of a consolidation phase of, look, you've been through all of these years of stuff and you want to move on to something different. What is it? What have I learned? What have I got now that I can use to move forward into my higher self? Or, you know, or what are the passions that are driving me, and, you know, how can I link that in with everything that I've done? Okay. Yeah, and you might even start looking at, you know, spiritual stuff, which is what higher self is kind of about, spiritual purpose as well. Now, also this interesting, because we're talking about roles, skills, experiences, knowledge, and relationships, and that looks there like Jesus is with some of his disciples, possibly. Let me read that. So he's in his a role there, okay, as teacher, right? He that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. Chills. He's talking about work, like this is the stuff that we're saying here, like works, okay? He's saying that the works that he does are really good, but that people will do things even greater than he has done. Okay? And that's, you know, and what feeds into that is, of course, that soul essence that we're carrying through. It's a real honouring thing of, like, it's not almost not that we've somehow got all these things to feed into that. It's that we've always been that, okay, and that we've lived past lives being that, okay. But now it's a case of stepping more into it fully in a more conscious way, releasing all the subconscious blocks to that truth, stepping into it in a full way, and just going, wow, you know, we have the potential to do things, even more amazing things than what Jesus did. He's not just talking to disciples there. It's basically anyone that's in connection with their higher self, that is directly connected to Source. Unconditional love-like consciousness, because, as Jesus said, love one another. You know, love is the greatest of all the commandments, and it is also the highest frequency. Right? So he's saying here, people that believed in him. So he was an example of what a person can become if they are connected to their own higher self, to unconditional love, to manifesting that energy and sharing it in the world. Okay, that's really awesome. So he's saying if people believe in him and the way that he did that, then they will be able to do that too, because that helps, doesn't it? If we had no, often it helps for us to see an example or someone that's doing something, and then we go, hey, I want to do that, or hey, that person's doing that, so that means, you know, I could probably do that as well. But for some reason, most of us are kind of coerced into this belief that, oh, Jesus was amazing and we could never be like him. But he's literally telling us here, you know, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So he's literally almost saying that, you know what, he's handing over the baton. He's saying, you know, because I'm going back up to Source, into higher frequency, but there are going to be people down here on Earth that are going to be able to raise their frequency and do stuff very similar to what I was doing here, to what he was doing, Jesus, and maybe even more amazing. Right? And this feeds directly into our skills and our knowledge and our experience. You know, because like I said once before in another reading, Jesus has said that basically the fact that we came down here, put our hand up to help Earth raise the frequency, means that we are extremely courageous beings. We are mighty beings of light. And all we have to do is basically get back to the simple truth of that and just remove all the obstacles that are preventing us from doing that. And this will be revealed, the higher self. So to some ways here, it's sort of like it's the experiences, you know, works, it's the knowledge, skills and experiences. So, you know, so he said that we're going to be utilising everything we've got, and as well as we're going to be utilising all this and all of these other understandings here to activate our higher self, and then we will be doing some amazing stuff. Okay. That is what we have to look forward to, which is going to be awesome. I cannot believe this. Krishna, it's another Hindu. Another Hindu god, Krishna. Devotion. Awesome. So you know what that's saying? It's saying that the roles and skills that we have, we actually really need to be devoted to really pulling out from there what we're going to be using in activating our higher self. But not only that, when we've activated our higher self, we will feel automatically devoted to our purpose, because it will be so in line with our higher self, our mind-body complex, and everything that we've done, all of our skills and experience. It will be so aligned that we will feel nothing but devotion and love, unconditional. So awesome. I'm going to read a little bit under here. Trust your spiritual guidance. Your commitment has been recognized. You are loved unconditionally. Wow. Your commitment has been recognized. You are loved unconditionally. And you know what? You, just by the very fact that you are here now, that everyone is here, we are being loved unconditionally, because we have already made a commitment to the earth. You know, your commitment has been recognized by other high frequency beings like Krishna, and there are many others. There are many other ascended masters, particularly in this deck here. If you want to ever get this deck, it's got all lots of ascended masters, men and female and male form masters. That, you know, they're really they've recognized that, you know, we are committed, and our spiritual guidance. And this is the other thing about the knowledge and skills, is that, you know, we have been committed. We've been really committed to doing what it is that we have to, that's required, doing things that are required of us. Okay, so all of these things here, it's going to feed into, and look at that, it's just beautiful. So it's sort of saying that all of the knowledge and skills, the roles that we've played and the relationships that we've had, okay, they are all forms of devotion, okay, and that when we align them even further, when we tweak it even more to bring this higher self, higher soul purpose on board, okay, we're going to be doing some amazing things according to what Jesus is saying here. And not only that, we're going to be experiencing a lot of joy. Okay, Yeah, and love. This is literally love and devotion here. Love and devotion. And that's what the directing the soul purpose is about. It's about finding that love and devotion. The way that you want to manifest your soul purpose, how you're going to manifest all of this stuff, and maybe add some new knowledge and skills in there, how you're going to manifest it in a way of, that's really devoted, heart-centered, and unconditionally loving. Okay. But also it's going to be naturally what gives your, makes your soul feel joy. Okay, and what you love to do. So that is just awesome. Wow. Okay, well, thank you, Andromedans, for that spread. Yeah, so they really just wanted me to emphasize that this is the center now. People need to start making it the center. I hope some of that information was helpful. Yeah, and you're most welcome to obviously do spreads for yourself too. And I cannot believe, it's interesting how there was all of these Hindu gods in here. We had Shiva, Radha, and Krishna. And I'm just receiving information now about that, which is to do with the reason that they're in there is because it's also alluding to the yogic. It's alluding to a yogic path, which people, of course, are free to tap into, but it's kind of alluding to, they're kind of saying, especially in terms of mind-body connection and self-care and development, if you can somehow find out about, increase your experience, knowledge, and skills with regard to what the yogic path is, all of the philosophy behind it, the understandings, even and the practices of the yoga, all the different types of yoga. Okay, you can even get books on it, videos on it. You can have YouTube. You can see YouTubes on it. They're saying that's it's going to be it's going to become a lot more mainstream. It has just recently, but it's going to become even more, to the point of it becoming almost very essential for people to start doing, because it activates the chakras, strengthens the chakras system, which then has implications for the aura, and because it aligns mind, breath and body, it's going to be really centering and assist people with tapping into what their higher self is, because it's meditative. Okay, and it will help them, if they can do practice, like maybe do a class or whatever, it will help them with their own personal meditations that they might do at other times, because they'll feel more mind-body connection and they will be able to go into more alignment a lot quicker and achieve mastery more easily. Okay, so the Andromedans are saying that a yogic path will assist with tapping into subconscious areas. It will assist having a holistic approach to mind-body connection, self-care, which then assists with the higher self to align more easily. Okay. I just had to add that in there, because I think there was a reason why there was those three Hindu gods in there. The other thing about Hinduism is that there's the belief system of the Hindus is a very multi-dimensional. It's multi-dimensional in terms of the many gods and goddesses, and there are probably, like in terms of archetypes, archetypically, it sort of probably includes a lot of different types of archetypes that we can use that to tap into to help our own understanding of our own personal archetypes, which you can Google Carl Jung archetypes. Okay. I also have these here, which are Carol and Miss archetype cards. And that can assist you with things like childhood stuff, past lives, and even looking at subconscious anima animus, doing self-exploration, okay, in terms of your subconscious. So what are the forces that are, that are playing out? What are the different, actually Carol and Mrs., as you can see here online, Carol and Miss, I think it's miss.com, miss.com. She talks about that most people have, 4 common archetypes, which are the saboteur, the victim, their inner child. There's a few different types, but most people are predominantly one, and also the prostitute, right? And there's also, generally people have another 8 archetypes. So just for example, so this one, for example, is the trickster. Okay. The light attribute, so that's the positive aspects. Transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behaviour. Okay, and the shadow aspect is manipulating others through duplicity. So there's a manipulative negative aspect. Okay, another one is, this one is called the seeker. Okay, so the light attribute is thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are, and the shadow attribute, the negative one, says inability to commit to a path once found. So you can sort of see that everyone to some extent is affected by a lot of these. Okay, and this one here, companion. Okay, light attributes, loyalty, tenacity, and unselfishness. So this is someone who's very devoted to another person. Okay, and the negative aspects here, betrayal by misusing confidences, loss of personal identity. So that can be some of the negative effects if there's a dysfunction involved in it. Okay, and a lot of these, there's the prince, we have the father, the pioneer. There's so many, there's 80 cards in here. Judge is another one, and we have rebel, we even have virgin, prostitute. Okay, that's literally, selling yourself for something. Victim, right, saboteur, these are the more common ones. But yeah, the list goes on. But they can be very thought-provoking in terms of if you're really serious about looking at your own dysfunctional aspects and you really want to get stuff moving, you could check out Carol and miss.com. But I'm just bringing those up because that can be useful for looking at childhood stuff, but even just for self-reflection, right? Yeah, and also the subconscious anima and animus. Yeah, so that's it, folks. Thank you for watching, and hopefully that was useful. Bye.